Hello, everyone. We are back with Peyton, my friend, who last time we talked about. Confidence last time, and I wanted to give an update real quick.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I went to a restaurant with my two brothers and my dad, and you had given me a performance plan or whatever it was called. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
Performance plan. All right. My goal for next time I ordered was if I didn't know what I was ordering, to ask for another minute without feeling ashamed. So the waitress came up, said, "Hi, would you like to order?" And everybody at the table started doing that whole, like, I could tell they weren't ready because they started looking at the menu really quick, but they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm ready, but you go first," kind of thing. And I was like, "Well, I'm not ready," and they don't look ready. So I was like, "Can we have one more minute, please?" And she said, "Oh, sure." And then we got another minute, and I got to order what I wanted, which was vermicelli. So it worked.
Awesome. So
Good job.
Do you feel like the confidence thing helped with you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think so.
Do you feel confident enough to do it again?
Yes, because like another thing you said was like don't worry about what the cashier or the waiter or waitress has to.
Because they don't care about
you. They
you.
don't care about you, and that's kind of liberating. Like, of course they don't care about me. They're just there doing their job, and part of their job is if I need more time, well, okay. Like it's not like they have anywhere to go usually, and not to disrespect their time, but just to not rush myself and to rush other people. So yes, it worked.
It all makes sense. Yeah, well, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you, Peyton. Another valuable lesson you taught me out of the many. And today we're going to talk about focusing. So today's podcast is going to be about focusing, and we're going to start this off with how to focus on house chores and maybe daily tasks. So things that you're having to do at home. And I don't know how you want to start this off, but especially things that you don't want to do. Like some people don't want to do the dishes, or they don't want to do the, boring house chores that you don't want to do. It's really hard to focus on those particularly. So
I would say that that laziness is a big part of it. No one likes to hear that, but laziness is a lot of it. And whenever you get the first thought in your head of like, oh, I need to do the dishes, that's when you should do it. Is when you get the first thought in your head, because that's usually like your conscious, like kind of talking to you, or you're talking to yourself, and it's kind of like people say like the little inner voice in your head, and that's what you usually listen to in times of trouble, in times of need, and it's kind of the same thing when you first get the idea in your head, okay, to do something, that's when it should be done. Because if you keep like putting it off and you bury it a little deeper each time, then it just kind of gets further and further behind. Whereas the first time you think of it, that's like the prime time to do it.
Any tips, or just like training your brain to immediately go and not?
It's definitely a training thing because it does take practice and no one wants to do it. So if you can think in your head, when I first think of something to do it, then when you next think about it, you have to think. It's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of thinking is involved.
I think I've kind of done that with some of my chores. Like the dishes, I don't mind too much, but I have noticed that, over the years, I used to live in a house with adults with intellectual disabilities. So part of the thing there was to help with the chores, to help with the dishes, and if they didn't get done, to do them. So over the years working there, I kind of trained my brain to do kind of what you just said. And now moving back, basically by myself, I have a roommate, but I still have that tendency to, whenever I think, oh, the chores need to be done, I'm really good at doing them right then, at least the dishes, and not letting them sit in the sink with water. If I need to soak something, I soak it, but then I remind myself to go back and actually do them. But some chores, like organizing my mail, as you've seen, is like just doesn't get done, and I don't know. I need to train my brain on that somehow. I'm not really sure. So let's talk about that. Like, how can I maybe focus on getting my mail done?
So organizing your mail, what I would suggest is, so when you have all your mail in a pile, whether it's here, there, or something, I like to sit on the floor I feel like I focus better sitting on the floor versus like watching TV or sitting in a chair even. I don't know. I guess something about the whole crisscross applesauce thing with your kind of brings you back and makes me focus more. So I sit on the floor, I have like all my mail out, and that's my one task to do right then. Nothing else to do but just look at the mail. It's something that a lot of people put off. I mean, even I put it off. But once you sit down, I would say on the floor and then do it, it usually kind of goes by a lot easier.
That's a really good point, because especially the part about the TV, that's one of my things that is really distracting for me, and it helps me not focus. Is if, let's say, for example, I have that pile of mail and I'm going to go through it. I finally trained my brain to not put it off anymore, and I'm like, okay, Calvin, it's time to do this pile of mail. So I get wherever I'm going to sort it. I have a tendency to have the TV on in the background, or turning on my music, or checking one more thing on my phone, my email or whatever, and that usually has like an 80% chance to derail me into focusing on something, not the mail, for another day or two or whatever. So eliminating distractions, I think, is a really big one that I probably need to work on myself.
Another example of literally a few minutes ago, Calvin went to go get a notepad, and in doing so, he sat at his desk but bumped his desk so that the computer woke up after going to sleep. And then when the screen opens up, the eyes go to the screen, notification popped up, something's done, and then another task forms without completing the initial task.
And that was at least a 5-minute distraction. It was probably 10.
It was longer than that.
I was like, oh, my videos are done, whatever they were doing. And I was like, hey, Peyton, come look at these videos. And then it was like, crap, that was 10 minutes.
So to help eliminate that potential issue is, not be by the screens, whether it be TV, phone, computer. If you have a task you need to do, it's kind of best. That's why I say sit on the floor, because it's kind of like, it's like your own little bubble, no screens. Kind of go whole like childlike innocence. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
No,
but like
no,
you didn't have a phone as a child, so it's kind of like going back to that.
Yeah, I see. But yeah, big thing for me is eliminating distractions. That will help me focus. So, again, some things I've trained my brain to immediately do right when I see that it needs to be done. Another thing that you've mentioned for completing tasks that maybe it could be everyday tasks, daily tasks, home chores, whatever. You say that checklists help a whole lot in doing those things. So let's talk about checklists.
If y'all listened to or watched our confidence podcast, this might sound a bit familiar, which is good because it means you were listening. But checklists help because it helps prioritize things you need to do, and writing things down helps it get more solidified in your brain to help you remember later on. And also, crossing off things off the checklist is very satisfying. It helps you feel better, helps you feel more accomplished. So there's honestly so many good things about checklists.
I can attest to the whole crossing things off my checklist. Well, two things real quick. One thing, when I write something down, even when it's not on a list, as long as I just write it down, kind of like what you said, just writing it down will help me 10 times better remember that I need to do that later. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I just think about it and then go right back to my whatever task I'm doing, I usually forget. Or maybe I'll remember like, oh, I had something to do, but I don't remember what it was. But if I wrote it down, I'd be like, I had something to do and I wrote that down somewhere. I can usually find it at least. So writing things down, I 100% agree with that. And then having a list to check them off or to scratch them off. Like I just got a whiteboard, I don't know, a week or two ago, and it's been really helpful. At night when I go to bed, my brain just thinks. It just I have trouble turning it off. And so when I'm thinking about stuff I need to do the next day, I'll come over to my whiteboard and write it down on my list, the things I need to do the next day. Then it helps me go to sleep better and blah, blah, blah. But then when I get up the next day and I sit down at my desk to do my work, I can look at that list on my whiteboard, and it's way better for me to get things done, to focus on the tasks that I'm wanting to get done most. And then so satisfying at the end of the day, like, oh, I completed this one, erase. Completed that one, erase. And I make new room for me to do the next day's task. And it's just, it's little increments of progress that snowball into a much healthier and happier me.
Well, it sounds like it's working for you, so that's good.
I think so.
Sounds like it is. I do the exact same thing, but instead of a whiteboard, I have the Notes app on my cell phone. So if I'm out and about, I remember something, I just quick get my phone, I can type it in, and then again, I can erase it later when I finish the task or whatever it was that I wrote down. So I do the exact same thing because I'm not going to remember. Like, I'll remember I needed to do something, but I don't remember what it was I needed to do. So the Notes app on my phone really helps with what you were saying of actually remembering what it was you needed to do.
That's cool. And a lot of this stuff I'm just realizing is not so much about helping yourself. Well, it is helping you focus on certain tasks, but it's helping your brain not have to worry about all the other stuff that could be distracting. So if I need to pay my bills, let's go with that one again. If I'm needing to pay my bills, but I have all of these, I'll have a meeting at 8, I have a lesson tomorrow at 10. If I have all this stuff in my head that I'm not putting down somewhere, maybe on a notepad or whiteboard, or for me, something that's helpful is I will make a reminder on my phone and say, remind me tomorrow night that I have a lesson on the day after, and then I can not have to think about it and not worry about that. And then it's much more helpful for me to focus on whatever task I'm doing, whether it be paying bills or whatever. So yeah, a lot of the focusing comes on eliminating distractions.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. For me, that's comes in the forms of reminders, using the whiteboard, using these random notepads laying around, which I need to organize better.
And that goes to help de-stress your life when you've written down things, like having the checklist. It helps prioritize and de-stress. And then speaking of checklists, there's 3 different examples that we've thought up.
Let's see. What are your examples, Peyton?
The first type of checklist, I would say, is just one that everyone does. It is a checklist that has everything you need to do written down on one list.
So basically just one piece of paper or whatever, and it's just whatever you need to do in no particular order written down, spaces to write down, dishes, pay bills, take kids to soccer practice, go to tennis lessons, whatever, just whatever you can think of, it goes on there.
Yes. And
what's that one good for?
It's good for getting all your thoughts down in one place if you don't have time to prioritize things, and if you just need to jot things down because you have bad memory, just throw it on there, and then you can cross off in any order you like, whether it's going straight down or crossing off the things that you just happen to be doing. This is probably the most common just because it's the most, I guess, easy just to kind of go straight down, just everything.
Is it efficient?
I personally don't like it because it's kind of overwhelming to see everything you need to do. It kind of brings stress back into your life, visually seeing this long list of things to do. So a way to help with that is we have a checklist number 2 example. And this is what Calvin does. So if Calvin, do you want to explain this one a little bit?
Yeah, let me see it again. So on my whiteboard, let's use that. So basically there's different tasks that I need to do. So bullet points, you can say. So pay the bills or edit videos. Let's use those 2 for example.
So that would be the different tasks.
The headline for my number 1 task would be pay bills. But then, apart from that, I might have a different set of steps that are required to pay bills. Like, well, first I got to go to the mail and get the bills. Then I have to open the bills, and then I have to check online whether I can pay them there or how I pay them. And
you have to actually organize and sort through and sit on the floor.
Sit on the floor, sort the mail. So I might have micro steps that are more of a routine for me that I can check off. So I guess in a sense I have 2 checklists. I have one like these are the things I need to do, pay bills or edit videos. And then I have separate checklists for each of those tasks that once I'm on that task, to help me focus and get it done more efficiently, I'll go to, if I'm editing videos, I'll go to a Word document and I'll have 10 steps or however many to edit my videos. We'll import the videos, blah, 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 compress the videos, edit the videos, stuff like that. And that's helpful for me because on my whiteboard I can see, I need to pay the bills and edit my videos today. Okay, that's way less overwhelming than having all of the steps that I need to do for each of those tasks up on the whiteboard. But
so to some people, they might just put, this would be 3 things to do. Edit videos, pay bills, and then wash the dog, or whatever the third example was. So some people would just think, okay, 1, 2, 3 versus, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and so forth to help kind of make sure it's done correctly. And if anything, it kind of gives you a little bit more satisfaction of crossing off things. Like, okay, I got the mail. I sorted it. Now, next I have to do this, this, and this. So it kind of gives more satisfaction of crossing things off. So this would be a good, almost like beginner kind of checklist because it kind of helps you get more in the habit of it.
Is that passive aggressive?
No, it's not supposed to be.
The checklist you use is for beginners. Let's see what an expert uses.
Well, no, it's good because it helps.
I think it's helpful.
It is helpful. Whatever works for you.
Just teasing.
A third type of checklist
for experts
is what I do.
Oh, this is what Peyton does. Let's see. And you're like the organization pro and focus pro.
I try to.
I don't actually know if you're a good focuser, but you're definitely good at organizational stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big word. So going off of checklist 1 of just the long list of things that's overwhelming, what you do is you take that long list and you prioritize it with high importance, normal importance, and low importance.
So in checklist 3, Peyton basically has top priorities, and then you can put whatever you want to do, what you for sure want to get done that day in top priorities. And then you have normal priorities, after I get done with my top priorities, it would be helpful to get these done. And then the low priority would be, if I'm really feeling energetic, really feeling focused, well, let's get these done because I need to do them sometime.
Mm-hmm. I think this works really good for me at least because it kind of helps if I'm super lazy. So if I'm I don't want to do anything, but I need to do this, whether it's like paying the bills, which is kind of pretty important, or calling your doctor or calling someone about financial aid for school. And then, so those are things that need to get done. So it kind of helps make things easier in your head to think about instead of having that long list of just doing these few things and then maybe a couple normal and maybe 1 low priority of vacuuming would be a low priority for me.
My therapist gave me this really cool sheet of paper, and it was basically anxiety, I don't remember the exact quote, maybe I do. It said something like, anxiety happens when you feel like you have to do everything at once. Mm-hmm. And so that, for me, I know is true. If I don't have the checklist, if I'm less organized, if that makes me less focused, and then I feel like I don't get anything done. And then it starts building in my head I'm not doing anything with my life kind of thing. So that's when my head will start telling itself, I have to do all of this stuff. But once I have checklists, they're helpful in to do 100 things, you have to start somewhere. So here's the top priority. Let's do that. Okay, got that done, checked it off. Ooh, that felt good. I'm making progress towards my goal. Mm-hmm. So for me, it helps a lot.
So having checklists do help de-stress your life. They should, at least, if done correctly and actually utilizing them, they will help.
But maybe there's some points where, if you're new to checklists and they're maybe overwhelming and
that's
more
what that
stressful.
One checklist one of just all writing them down, it could be overwhelming. But yours, I think, is very good to help calm people down because it kind of just makes you focus on the smaller things versus the big picture could be overwhelming, kind of helps
very much
talk you down a little bit. So I think that's why it's good for those who are just starting out and not get overwhelmed by anything.
Sorry, Nessus has a fluffy beard. Is your fluffy beard? Can you see it?
Yeah.
He's playing with his little baby lizard. That's so cute. Oh, focus. Sorry. He's just like staring at me with his fuzzy beard. It was cute.
Focus, Calvin.
Focus. All right, back to focusing.
Scoot a little closer.
All right. All right, I want to talk about...
You're so far away.
Oh, yeah. I didn't want to sit on the recorder. Let's talk about focusing your energy so you don't waste it.
Okay.
You mentioned that, and I don't know what it was about.
Well, that kind of goes with, just checklists. Because if you focus your energy so much on the low priority things, then that's wasting your energy. If you focus so much on vacuuming versus, paying the bills or calling your doctor, then that's just like stressing you out for things you shouldn't be stressed out about.
That's interesting because I hear a lot of people, and I definitely do this sometimes. You feel like you've worked all day, but you haven't got anything done.
Oh, that's the worst.
I could 100% see, that focusing your energy on the low priority stuff. And, if you don't have your priorities organized well, I could definitely see where most of someone's day would feel like, even when they're working really hard, I did this and this and this, but I feel like I didn't get anything done. I still need to call the doctor. I still need to pay the bills. And then I could see that being a problem. But organizing those priorities, focusing on paying the bills, the high priority stuff first, you probably feel more accomplished, I guess. At least I would.
Mm-hmm. It's very easy to get focused on the small things that don't really matter. And if you do feel accomplished, it's kind of a sense of false accomplishment. I'm super guilty of this because I'll focus on little tasks and things have to be just right. And that's kind of like the OCD of just fixing little things that don't really matter. But to you, they matter. But they don't really matter. So you're not really helping the main things you need to do because you're distracting yourself with smaller things to do.
That makes sense. I have something that kind of goes along with that. I don't know how, but anyway, when I am focusing on something like paying the bills, something that I really struggle with because it's just so boring and I feel unorganized with it all. And anyway, so whenever I have a stack of bills or mail piled up and I need to go through it, it is so easy for me to find distractions because my brain is just really wanting to escape having to pay the bills or escape going through my mail. And so I'll end up watching TV or playing games or doing something. And then 30 minutes go by, an hour goes by, I'm like, I still have the bills to pay. And then I just keep worrying about it. And then I get distracted with something else. When what would be helpful is with the dishwasher, the dishes, I see the bills or I see the dishes and I go do them immediately. No matter if I want to or not. It's something I know I need to get done, so go do it. Mm-hmm. So I need to train my brain to do that with the mail too. Do you have any tips on maybe doing that?
Yeah, we already talked about that.
I know we talked about it, but we just said just do it. That's the tip, right?
It's kind of like training to run a marathon.
We talked about that off camera,
I know.
Though, so we need to talk about it on camera.
But that didn't make sense earlier. Training to run a marathon is how do you train to run a marathon? You just start running or you start walking, little bits at a time. So training your brain to do tasks when you first think about it is the same thing, So it's kind of hard to start, but you think about it and you're thinking about it and you need to do it because you're thinking about it. So it's
I like that you're relating this to working out. I see where you're going with that. So whenever you first start working out and you've been off for a while, it's so easy. Once you start getting going, it's tough for the first week or two. But once you get in a routine, it's much easier. But once you get in that routine and you start skipping, if you skip one day, that can snowball too. And I'm kind of saying that because like, if you finally get yourself into a routine with doing the dishes, and then one time you see, oh, they're there, but I have family in the other room, I'm gonna go spend time with them and leave that. That can then the next day, no family's there. You see the dishes, oh, I'm gonna go watch TV for a second, and get back into that routine.
That's when you need to kick yourself to continue doing it. I mean, it's okay if your family's there not to do the dishes. I mean, that's okay, but because it's okay to miss a workout during the holidays, but after the holidays, when your family's gone, when you're back home, you need to go back to working out. So it's just kind of like, it's just having discipline to actually follow through. Going back to the laziness.
Daily chores and house chores come down to you being mentally fit.
Yeah, or mentally
fit. If you're lazy, then you're mentally unfit. And if you've conditioned your brain to do the chores, to do the stuff you don't like, to pay the bills, to do the laundry, whatever's on your high priority list for the day, you'll be much more happier overall with your days and with yourself, I would guess. At least that's how I am in my life when I'm on top of my stuff, when I get done the stuff that's number 1 through 4 on my whiteboard. I feel really good, and at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I actually did some stuff. That's cool. And then I'm ready for the next day. But when I come back to the whiteboard, I'm like, oh, I didn't do any of these 3 things. I'm like, well, crap, I really need to do these tomorrow because all I did was watch TV today. So that helps me.
Yeah, for sure. It's also important for in your head to make sure you're focusing on the important things that need to get done. Because if you are with your family, it's okay to not lose focus, but to
kind of be relaxed for a bit.
Yeah.
Take a chore off.
Mental health day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So to recap, out of all of this, focusing, what might help you focus on doing stuff you don't like, doing chores, doing daily tasks. Whenever you think about doing the task, either A, do it, which would be best, or B, put it on your priority list, and having a top priority, normal priority, and low priority list. So prioritizing your priority list, that is super helpful at least for me, and I know you said you, Peyton, for being on top of your chores. So all of those things kind of help you focus on day-to-day life. It makes you feel more accomplished at the end of the day. So that's a recap of it. Do you have anything to add to
that
the
was
recap?
Perfect.
Oh, thanks.
That was good.
Gaston.
Confident.
Yeah, confident. Confident Calvin. All right, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be what we just talked about, but for me and for content creators, finishing content and publishing that content.
Like a podcast.
Like this podcast, like this video. I mean, oh, that reminds me, I didn't set up my second camera.
I was looking at it earlier, and I was like,
we were going to try using a second camera. Publishing content. Finishing content and publishing content. I think what I need to do after talking about the daily chores, I need to have a priority list.
Obviously, you think about editing your videos, uploading your videos, because we talk about it. So obviously, you think about it. So it's kind of training your brain to think about it, then do it.
Go from thinking to add it to the list, priority list, and then, being disciplined enough mentally to carry out, to actually do the things on my list and not just let them sit there for a year and a half like some of my things.
So today is January 4th, 2019. Happy New Year. So let's see how long it takes for this one to be published.
Okay, real quick. This one hasn't even, the first one that we shot on November 30th, I think.
I don't remember the date. That
one hasn't even been published either, but I've been editing. And
I am proud of you because he is making steps. He said he wanted it to be out by March. That was your deadline you had for yourself. But it seems like you might get it done before March.
I'm hoping to get it done by end of January and start actually publishing things.
Which would be awesome, and that's good. Cool.
Progress.
It is.
But again, like, to do that, it was super overwhelming. Like, I had 4 or 5 podcasts at the time. I think she was my 4th podcast, so that was the 4th podcast to shoot. And at the time, I didn't even have editing software. I kind of knew how to use editing software, but at the time, it was just like, oh, I have this content, but now how do I edit it? How do I distribute the content? And I had researched all of those things, but it came down to the time of, I know what to do, I just need to do it. And so I've created lists, I've created, priority lists, and I've actually started doing them. I've, edit Peyton's podcast. So this morning I edited Peyton's podcast, or last night I edited Peyton's first podcast. This morning I had a new priority. Check Peyton's podcast to make sure that they edited correctly and like they uploaded correctly or whatever. So, steps.
When you got that whiteboard and you started like making lists, were you like, Peyton's gonna be so proud of me?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure you were thinking that.
That probably crossed my mind 4 or 5 times. Are you proud of me?
I really am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've come a long way.
You have.
From my just kind of put things on a table and forget about it days.
The first time I walked into your room back at the house, I was like, okay, you've got some work to do.
Man, well, I still have quite a few things just on tables, but
not as
getting
bad
better.
As it was.
My desk, I needed to get my desk. It's stressing me out a little bit.
Gotta put it on your list of things to do.
I do. That's one of this is perfect example. Like, I know I need to do it, and I'm not just doing it, so I need to put it on the list. So
hold yourself accountable.
I'm gonna right after this, I'm gonna make a note here. I'm connected, so I would go do it right now, but what am I doing?
Cleaning your desk.
Make a note to clean my desk. Make a note.
You're currently making a note to make a note to clean your desk. Or I could just remind you in 2 minutes.
Will you forget?
No.
I will forget, probably. So, Peyton, thank you for coming on the podcast again.
Of course,
to
Calvin.
help me and hopefully help others out there, you. And to this time focus. Last time be confident, and we talked about organization too, like how to organize, which honestly, organization and focusing comes hand in hand, and that's why we wanted to do this podcast, to kind of follow up on the organization stuff. And I'm still making progress. You're still helping me, so thanks a lot.
I'm still your caregiver.
You're still my caregiver. What am I going to do when you graduate and you actually have to go caregive for other people, and then am I going to lose my caregiver?
My rate's going to go up.
Oh, crap. That rate is going to go up. That's
that master's
true.
degree.
So I have that piece of paper. I have to pay more. Oh, okay. I have, this is kind of off topic. My therapist left me.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
I went to therapy. I hadn't been in a while because of insurance switches and stuff. And a couple weeks ago, I went to my therapist, had another good session, got to talk about whatever was going on in my life. He's been helpful to me the last 2 years. And then at the end of the thing, he's like, oh, by the way,
is he moving? What?
That was me crying. He's moving on. He's going to do stuff.
He's not going to be a therapist anymore?
He might do private stuff. I don't know. Private. I don't have a therapist right now. And then I come home like, oh, man, I don't have a therapist anymore. But I still, maybe I'll go see my massage therapist because that helps,
I thought you were going to go see a massage therapist and just talk to her.
No, no, but I was seeing a massage therapist because it had tight muscles and tension and whatnot. And that was super helpful for me. So I was seeing massage therapists and behavior therapists, or whatever they're called now. Mental therapist, whatever. Psychotherapist. Yeah. But anyway, so my psychotherapist left me. And then.
That sounds so sad.
Well, I mean, it wasn't personal.
He didn't leave you.
He's a really good guy. He just needed a break, and I understand.
Not from you.
Not from me. but it sounds so much cooler if I say that he left me. Anyway,
this means pity in sign language. Pity you.
Pity me. But then I came home. I was like, I'm gonna go get a massage. I really need this. I don't have a therapist right now. I need to go see a massage therapist. So I go online. I click the button on my favorites bar, my massage therapy. I'll book an appointment with my massage therapist.
Did they leave you too?
Their entire organization closed.
Oh no!
I clicked the button and it sent me to this website that wasn't theirs. I was like, what just happened? And I clicked it again and I was like, oh no. So I started searching around. It's like, all 4 locations closed. The owners did not agree to tell why. And I was like, oh I still had a credit there. I was going to go there and use my last free massage.
Oh no.
And they had disbanded. So I was left without psychotherapist. I was left without a massage therapist. And now you're going to go off to grad school. And your rates are going to go through the roof.
But I will need practice. And
yeah. Oh, you could intern here. I could like start up a legit company, and you could just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go."
Sign off all my paperwork.
Yeah, like you could intern at Streamline Gaming. That's like an actual business I have.
It is.
Even if it doesn't make money. Yeah, I can still sign up on the papers.
I assume it's an unpaid internship.
No, I'll pay you.
With NASIS.
We'll pay you. It doesn't matter if if the business makes money. We'll still pay you.
Oh.
We'll pay you your current going rate.
Awesome.
Not your graduated rate. Maybe I'll have enough money from teaching tennis and pickleball by then that I can pay you your graduation rate.
I was going to ask you, do you think that being a teacher and a coach for students doing pickleball and tennis is helping your confidence? I meant to ask you that earlier.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because you're talking to a lot of people more and more.
Yes. I definitely think I was a Special Olympics basketball coach last year. I've been a coach on and off throughout my life. I started full-time coaching tennis and pickleball in October, so like 3 months ago, as we're shooting this. And I definitely think I feel much more confident when I'm teaching. You know, if I go a week and I teach most days of the week, I'll feel much more confident at the end of that week versus a week that gets rained out and I'm, stuck inside the whole week. And I go out, to eat at a restaurant or whatever, I feel much less confident for sure.
Do you think it's like the physical interaction with people and talking to people that helps kind of get your energy going?
Yeah, I think just interaction with students and with people, just, whether I'm playing or teaching, just interaction with people. And also it's something that I feel like I'm good at. I feel good at playing the sports and I also feel good at teaching sports. So I think just doing something that I feel good at helps build my confidence versus doing something where I'm like, oh, I stink at this. Like that would probably, if I felt like I stunk at it, it would probably lower my confidence, I guess. I'm trying to think of something that I've done recently that I felt not good at and whether that raised my confidence or lowered it.
It kind of depends on your attitude towards it, because you could think, okay, let's practice for next time. Kind of depends on how you think about it.
That's true. Like, oh, that's good. So let's say I go to a knitting meetup. I don't knit, but I'm creative, so I wouldn't put it past me, right? Yeah. Let's say I go to a knitting meetup and I feel like I'm not good at knitting, and then I go and I knit something and it would probably be really bad because I haven't practiced knitting. It would be my first time. I could I'm really bad at knitting and then just lower my confidence, or B, like, I'm not that good at knitting, but I tried knitting. I enjoyed it. I had fun meeting new people. I enjoyed trying to learn a new craft. And being creative, that's something I like doing. So that was a positive thing, and that builds my confidence to try other new things. So I guess, yeah, it's a lot how you look at it.
It's all a mental game, and it's kind of tricking yourself to think positive thoughts.
Let's do another role play. Last time we did me ordering at a restaurant.
Okay.
Let's do do we have one where we could do focusing? That's probably, I don't know if there's a good role play.
I mean, just
we could do a
just like looking at the dog. That was a real life role play where you failed with the fuzzy beard.
What do you mean? Because I focused on him instead of you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but that
that might have been a role play of like, look, a distraction, and you did get distracted by it.
Okay, but we could say, like, I could think, okay, from that distraction, I like where you're going with this. I could think, oh, I'm a failure. I got distracted on this podcast where we're talking about focusing. Oh, I can't focus. Poor me. Or I could be like, that was super cute what Nasus was doing. I'm actually kind of glad that I showed the camera and talked about it and got his little, fuzzy beard.
I would say that what was good about it is you were able to get back on track pretty fast.
Oh.
So it's okay to lose focus, but getting back on track is sometimes where people have a hard time because then they get distracted and they stay distracted with computers. But you were able to get on track with your brain to keep focusing.
That's good. I like that one.
So you had a good turnaround.
I'm trying to think of what a good tip for that would be.
Just kind of snapping your head back to going and training with your head.
I feel like a lot of this stuff, when it comes to focusing, is just
mental.
It's mental, like mental training. Like, it's weird because if I lift dumbbells, and I lift 10-pound dumbbells, and then a month later I'm lifting 15-pound dumbbells. I can see that I've gotten stronger because I can lift the 15-pound dumbbells easier than I lifted the 10-pound dumbbells when I started.
It's stepping stones.
But with mental strength, it's so much harder to see it and notice it. Like we talked about doing the chores, doing the dishes. There's people that obviously don't do the dishes right when they think of it, and you can tell because they build up, they put it off, they're always doing it the next day, they're always leaving it for 2 days, whatever it might be. Versus someone like me who has kind of been trained over the years to see dishes like, that sink needs to be empty, let's put it in the dishwasher. So going from dishes in the sink for 2 days to dishes are done right after I cook, you can see the progress, but it's not like my head is physically bigger because my brain is stronger.
Well, another thing about that is, and also with people, like, to a stranger, you wouldn't be able... Don't get too far away.
Oh, I'm good.
With the stranger, they wouldn't be able to really notice if you did get, mentally healthier. But with people who are close friends with you, they should be able to see a change in your character. I've noticed from when I first met you that you have gotten, you seem a lot better mentally.
That's
so with
good.
people who are closer to you, it should be a physical sign of change when your mental health gets better or your mental strength gets better even.
What do you see that has gotten better with me mentally strong?
Well, you seem happier. When you're happier, that all around things kind of improve. You're kind of prioritizing your life and things you need to do. You're more conscientious. You're more conscientious now.
I'm very self-aware. That's true.
And you're kind of it's like you know what you need to do, and then you know what you need to do.
And I've started actually doing it. Like this podcast thing in my personal brand, I got calvinkeeney.com last month. Over the last 3 months since I started.
You have a website. I didn't know
it's
that.
Not really up yet. I have the domain.
Let's see if it's open and up when this gets posted.
Well, the hope and the plan is for me to have it up and running so I can post my podcast on there. But that might be a while because it's just a lot of stuff. I'm doing it step by step. The website I would like to have up and running, but I don't know. It might come later. But anyway, yeah, I have calvinkeeney.com. You can actually go there right now, but it's I'm
definitely going to go to it later.
It's just the basic hello world, the thing that comes with every website. I don't have any content on there yet. Squirrel. What were we talking about?
Focus.
Yeah, focusing, but I'm mentally stronger. I'm happier.
That I can, as a close friend to you and not as a stranger, the physical strength can be obvious. Like you could see someone getting more muscular. A close friend should be able to see your mental strength getting better.
Oh, and where I was going with that, I finally remembered because you wrapped us back in. Thank you for doing that. Like with my personal brand, my website, this podcast, I've actually, over the last 3 months, I've been taking steps. Like the first step was figuring out what equipment I needed to do a podcast. And that sounds easy, but figuring out what equipment I needed from what I wanted, which was to be able to move around and visit other people and do podcasts there and not have to make them come here. So I figured out what I needed for that. That was step one.
You could have came to me.
I could have.
Oh.
Would you like me to come to you next time?
It's a different background, but it's the same apartment as the confidence video.
No, okay, well, I'll come back to you. We'll come to you next time. Let's get back on topic, okay?
Focus.
Focus, Peyton. Let's focus on what's important here. Yes, I could have come to you. I went to Casey. You knew I went to Casey.
I was going to do it that same day, but we weren't really ready, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so over these last couple months, I've really taken steps. Like I knew what I wanted. I wanted to do a podcast. So to do that, it was super overwhelming. Like, oh, I got to get the equipment. I've got to pay. Ended up paying several $100s for the equipment and the website. And, you know, it was a big expense, financially and time-wise. And it was just, if I look at it as a whole, like, I want to start a podcast. That was super intimidating. So I had to break that down into, well, I want a podcast. So what do I need to do? I need to get equipment for a podcast. I need to get friends to come onto the podcast. It's like checklists. I make those priorities every day. Like today I need to research what equipment to get. Okay, I've got the equipment. Now let's reach out to some friends and see who would come be on my podcast at my apartment because I can't travel to them.
And next thing for your checklist would be how to do that other little camera.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm wanting to get multiple camera angles, which will be kind of
So you see us this way and then you'll see us this way.
Yeah.
You're supposed to turn your body. Yeah, there you go. Okay. You're supposed to go with me.
So yeah, I've got things to do, and the checklists are helping, especially on like really overwhelming things. Another thing about me being happier and healthier, you helped me move into this apartment, and I think this was before I left the ranch. I don't remember when you came, but you helped. We went to Walmart. And you're like, you need some stuff for your wall. It was like just a white, it was like this. It was just, my entire room was white wall.
I still want to get shelves up here for all your little, it's
with it. I'm just kidding, go ahead.
I want to get shelves for all your little, I call them little toys, your little figurines.
That would be cool. Now that we don't have a cat, we don't have to worry about him.
I was never here with the cat. I never saw the cat. Anyway.
So yeah. What was I saying?
I first met you when you were at the ranch.
And then when you helped me move in and my walls were white, like this.
We went to Walmart.
4 of them. We went to Walmart. And you're like, hey, pick out some of these wall art items. And I was like, Decorations. And I'm the type of I'm so frugal, like I don't like spending any money on anything that's not like food that I need to eat. It's just that's how I've been, and partially because, you know, whatever it may be. Anyway, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll get some. And it was really one of the coolest things. Like, I'm really glad you convinced me to get those pieces of wall art, because 2 of them were like, follow your own path. And on there, I wrote with a Sharpie, Calvin, comma, and it said, follow your own path. And so it was like
a daily reminder.
A daily reminder every time I was here, which at that time was only on the weekends, because I was working, 30 miles away during the week, and I would stay there during the week. And every time on the weekend, I'd come here, follow your own path, follow your own path, follow your own path. And then the other one was be grateful, or live simply and be grateful. So just be grateful for the things I have and live simply so I don't have to stress out about getting things that, anyway. But those daily reminders when I was here on the weekend, it really helped me to realize I want to be a tennis coach. Like, I want to coach. I'm not coaching every day, but I want to. So I took a step. Like, I asked the person at the tennis store, hey, I want to coach. Do you have any openings? And then within the month, I was coaching.
You got things done.
Got things done. And it was just, I don't know. So that wall art was super helpful I mean, I already was kind of wanting to, and I've always lived by that, like doing my own thing, but having that reminder was really cool. And I've since then made my own reminders. Like, I'm sure you've seen the creative, caring, and competitive signs in my bathroom. Like, I have those because that's
and they're
me.
Backwards, so you can see it in the mirror.
So in the mirror, it's the correct way. But if you look at it on the wall, it's backwards, which, yeah, it's brilliant.
I like the way you think.
Thanks. I do too. I'm grateful for me. And I'm grateful for you.
Aw. Well, that's
and I'm grateful
good.
for Nassus, who's such a good assistant podcast member host.
He was the producer earlier.
Yeah, he's the main producer.
He's right here.
He was he made an appearance with Fuzzy Beard earlier.
Well, I do hope that everyone watching, listening, learned a little bit about focusing and prioritizing to help de-stress your life.
I'll keep using your wisdom and improving my own life. And this isn't something that, she tells me, hey, have a checklist, and then the next day I have a checklist and my life's amazing. This is something that...
It's building blocks.
Building blocks. Hey, get a checklist. Next day, oh, crud, I didn't do a checklist. I need to do a checklist. The next day, oh, I didn't do a checklist.
Make a checklist to do the checklist.
Then, yeah, finally, like, oh, all right, I remembered. I actually got the checklist. I wrote stuff down. That's step one. And then learning how to prioritize on your checklist. That's step two. And then over time, your life gets a little more simple and it gets a little less stressful with your daily tasks.
Yeah, going back to earlier about the training, how it one step at a time, like the marathon. You start slow, but eventually it gets more.
Eventually you're running 10 miles and you didn't even think you could run half a mile when you started.
Oh, me.
Running.
Oh.
All right, well, thanks, Peyton.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2019.